CFB, Ms. Fisher here. Today we're going to talk about the first steps in your financial aid process, setting up an FSA ID. As we begin, let me remind you that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, so be patient with yourself. Let's begin. An FSA ID, or Federal Student Aid Identification, is your access to the federal financial aid system. It's also your electronic signature that is used to sign your FAFSA. You might be thinking, Ms. Fisher, you said the FSA ID is for FAFSA, but what's a FAFSA? FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. This application is available for students who are U.S. residents, naturalized citizens, green card holders, or I-94 refugees or asylees. Any student that falls into one of these categories is eligible for federal financial aid and must create an FSA ID. Please know, if you don't meet the criteria for FAFSA, there is aid available to you too. We will be discussing the different types of aid applications in the coming weeks. So who all needs an FSA ID? If you meet the criteria to file the FAFSA, you must create an FSA ID. Additionally, if your parent is a legal resident or naturalized citizen, they must create their own FSA ID as well. What information or documentation do I need to create an FSA ID? In order to set up your FSA ID, you will need a non-CFB email address that you know the password to, your social security number, your name exactly as it appears on your social security card, even if it's misspelled, and a cell phone number. If you and your parent are creating an FSA ID, you cannot use the same email address or the same cell phone number. In addition, when you are setting up your FSA ID, you will be asked to create a username and a password. You will also have to set up 4 challenge questions, 2 that you choose from a drop-down menu, and 2 that you will create on your own. Next is a video from the studentaid.gov website on how to create an FSA ID. was a lot of information. Let's review the steps again. Step 1 is to access the Create Account page. There you will set up your username and password and enter your email address. Remember, it is important to use an email address that you know the password to. Step 2, provide your name, date of birth, and social security number. Step 3, provide your mailing address, select your language preference, and provide your cell phone number. Although providing your cell phone number is not required, it will allow you to receive a secure code if you forget your username or password. You will be required to either provide your email address or your cell phone number and opt into messaging before you can proceed. Step 4, complete the challenge questions and answers. Confirm and verify your information and agree to the terms and conditions. And lastly, Step 5, verify your email address and cell phone number. This verification allows you to retrieve your username or reset your password without answering your challenge question. Also, you can use your cell phone number or your email address as your username when logging in to the ED system. When setting up your FSA ID, there are some things you'll want to remember. Create your FSA ID early. If there's an issue, you want time to get it resolved so that when you're ready to complete the FAFSA, you don't have to wait. You and your parents must use different cell phone numbers and email addresses. Because your cell and/or email can be used to log in, it must be unique to each user. Remember your username and password. You will be using the same information every time you and your parent complete the FAFSA, every year you're in college. And ask for help if you need it. There are plenty of resources available: your counselor, the CCMR dean on your campus, or even the Federal Student Aid Helpline. Creating your FSA ID is the first step in this financial aid journey. Make sure you start off strong.